What's your greatest "well I'm ducked" moment? Woke up at 9:15. Final exam started at 8:45. I would literally just start sobbing. Thankfully it never hit during a final. But I have some health issues such with almost no warning knock me out of commission for a while. I've had an attack on the way to an exam, resulting in missing 1:40 of the 2 hours. That was a fun email to send to the professor. The gist: I'm trying my best to get to class, but I'm pooping and cannot stop. Edit. Thanks for all the advice, my fellow Ibsers. Everything worked out fine. I've since graduated and whatnot. Just a few days ago, my first time going rafting, and my group and I were about to get in the raft and all the instructors kept saying, "Wow, this is the roughest water I've seen in 7 years. No biggie. Let's go rafting beaches." Ended up being caught between 2 currents and flipping over. I was stuck under the raft for about 2 minutes until I was finally yanked out and dragged through the river until I hit a rock and climbed on top. The entire time my only thought was, well, this is how I die. Turns out a woman in my group did die. She hit her head underwater, passed out, and drowned. That exact millisecond when you realize you're leaning too far back in your chair and your life flashes before your eyes and you accept your fate. A kid in my history class in high school was leaning back in his chair, and as soon as he realized he was going to fall, he said, calmly Welsh tea, and hit the floor. This was when I was in 7th grade. I went to a really small Catholic school and my parents a lot of times helped out around the school on weekends. So I was often there in an almost empty school with nothing to do really. I, for some reason, had a very different locker than most of the other kids in the school. Mine was a really short locker, but very wide. I had always wondered if I could fit inside of it. I figured this was a good time to do it with nobody around to see me finally solve this stupid mystery. So I get inside and I'm kind of scrunched in there. Well, the goddamn door shuts on me. I'm trying to use my fingers to open the latch from the inside, but I can't do it. So I locked myself inside my own damn locker until probably 20 minutes later. My dad and another adult family friend comes along and I start pounding on the door. They laugh. And laugh. And laugh. And laugh. You know what, I'll just let you guys know when they're done laughing. But it's been 14 years. So I'm not sure that's gonna be anytime soon. Sending the right text to the wrong girl. A friend called me saying he had been kicked out and need help picking his stuff up. Was doing well in chemistry, the only class I had that morning. So figured I could skip one and go help. Showed 2 days later for the next class and they begin handing out graded midterms. That's why you should keep a calendar. Did the teacher let you take it? Did you fail? He did not let me retake it. But I had good grades up to that point and made a good grade on the second midterm and the final. I also did an extra credit assignment near the end which boosted my grade. Overall I probably lost half a letter grade. But my final grade was a 82, so it would have been a B either way. Still one of the worst feelings I have ever had though. Buddy needs a ride at 10 PM. Borrow dad's car. Pick him up and get on the way. Get pulled over for speeding and as soon as you see the red and blues he says the one thing you don't want to hear. Don't pull over. My backpack is full of DRGs you were taking me to sell. That's a quick way to assure they'd never be getting in my car again. He did. But I made him turn out his pockets before he got in. And no bags. He got me out of the ticket. His dad trained the guy that pulled me over. No questions, no nothing. We lucked out big time. On stage. And forget the next 8 lines. Edit. Had nightmares for the next week. You don't forget the next 8 lines. You forget everything. Up until X happens and everything falls back into line again. And I don't mean it the cute way. I mean you forget everything. Including why you started doing acting in the first place. Enlisted in the Marines because I wanted the challenge. Not because I actually wanted to fight or anything. Naive. I know. While I was in dental, waiting to get my wisdom teeth pulled, a handful of schtheds crashed planes into the World Trade Center. Join the Navy or the Air Force for that shit. You don't go into the Marines hoping to not get into combat. As a little kid, I was traveling with my family on a plane to Dubai. Once it landed, I went down one aisle. Family went down the other. I didn't know and thought my family were behind me. Kept walking forward and eventually when I looked back, they weren't there. Well, shit. Walked back and forth for what felt like an eternity in the airport trying to find them since I was lost in a foreign airport. Without my passport or identification, was with my parents, freaking out because there was a police person there and people kept looking at me funny since I was an unattended Asian kid freaking out. Eventually I was reunited with my family. But man, it was terrifying as a kid. It wasn't a fart. I know the feels. And even worse. And it was around people I was teaching. My job interviewer asked me a really technical question about something I lied on my resume. Probably February 2014 when the doctor told me I have a brain tumor. Or October that same year. 3 months after recovering from the surgery to remove it. When they said it not only grew back but grew back larger than these kinds are known for and that it was going to kill me. A few days ago I woke up to my boss texting me, "Where are you? Are you okay?" I was late for work. Open bracket. What a nice boss though. My boss is like this. I texted him that I needed to leave early for a doctor's appointment, routine checkup, refill scripts. And he called. Worried. Asking if everything was alright. My dog died. And he told me to stay home with my family. I used my lunch break to take my kids to the dentist. He told me to take the rest of the day off to spend time with them. He works as hard and expects perfection. But his first concern is for the well-being of his staff and our families. AskReddit and I haven't started. When I was 15ish, my parents discovered my less than Christian internet habits and installed an extremely rigid internet blocker. I didn't even have access to YouTube again until I graduated high school. Well, I found out that I could access the internet with my phone. It was an old flip phone from about 2003. And I was surprised it had internet at all. I couldn't visit websites or play videos. All I could really do was get Google image results. But it was better than nothing. Until about a week later. When my father came downstairs and asked, "Hey, I just got a bill for $50 surcharge on one of our phones. Do you know why that might be the case?" Externally, I said nope. And he said, "Huh, I'll have to look into it." But internally, I died. Turns out there's a $1 charge every time you use the internet on that phone. So my options were basically to come clean. Or to let them look into it and see the plethora of gay PRN searches I'd done. That was a sucky day for Ole Mitch. Let me tell you. That feeling you get when you feel your can is on black ice and you are inexorably headed for the ditch. Courtesy of physics. And all you can do is try and relax because you know that tea is gonna hurt when you hit. Fortunately I hit a deep snowdrift. Unfortunately a lady came by a minute later and slammed right into the side of my car. Totaling it. Oshti. Flew off. Q. Save. Bam. Fuck. When my ex called me 2 weeks after I finally broke up with her to tell me that she's pregnant. About 8 years ago my friend Drew flicked off this truck full of bros that was tailgating us. They followed us to a grocery store parking lot and got out to confront us. I peeled out. Started speeding down the road and next thing I know I'm in a full-on car chase. My dumbass turns off the main road because I was hoping I could lose them. Nope. They cornered us in a cul-de-sac. All the bros got out of the truck and 2 of them had bats. I was pretty sure I was about to die. Dude came to the window and started screaming at me about how much of a PSSY I was and how easily he could kill me. He made me tell him I was his BTCH. and I assured him that I was his BTCH. He made me say it about 8 times. Then he bucked at me, turned around, got in his truck and left. Scariest experience I've ever had in my life. To this day, I won't even honk at someone no matter what they do on the road. Recently I was moving home and job around the same time. I was staying with my parents as it made getting to my new job 100 times easier. The day I was moving I opened a letter that had been in the flat informing me I owed a city council £5,000. Turns out a guy I lived with for a few years hadn't been paying the bill. We had a deal that I paid for the internet and television and he covered that. He hadn't paid a single penny in the years we lived together and lied to me God knows how many times. Now not paying council tax is actually a crime and my new job is basically moving large amounts of money for people. I have never been more stressed and furious in my life. For those who care, it all got sorted cause my parents are amazing. I got my Ashley of an ex-friend to sign a contract saying he owes them the money and they paid it off and the council made sure there will be no negative consequences for me. But I nearly got set back the last 5 years and put into a debt that would have crippled me. He still goes around telling people that I am overreacting by being mad. I was doing a grenade training exercise in Afghanistan. My platoon had the day off so our commander scheduled a big range for us to go practice. We were using many weapons that day. A lot of bigger stuff to include frag grenades, AT-4s, 50 calories, and Barretts. It was an exciting day because as a standard infantryman you don't get to use that stuff hardly ever. The range was just starting and our other squad got to start with AT-4s, a rocket launcher for those who don't know. I was very jealous because my squad got stuck with grenades first, which is the most boring range of all those listed before. We start a line to start lobbing them over the Husko barriers downrange and get to it. A guy in my squad, let's call him Smith, comes up to the plate and readies his grenade. As he threw, the spoon on the grenade caught on his sleeve and hit the top of the barrier and fell straight down. Everyone yells and takes off running back to the concrete safety trench about 30 feet behind us. Everyone except me. I was next in line, so closest to the grenade minus the guy throwing, and as I pivoted to run I slipped HT no more than 10-15 FT away from the grenade. At that moment I decided to not get back up and thought I'm ducked. When grenades explode, there is cone of the explosion where a sliver above the ground does not get hit by shrapnel. And I just so happened to be in that protective cone. Those 3 seconds felt like a lifetime. The grenade went off and absolutely rocked the shit out of me. But somehow I was unscathed. My squad leader came to check on me and rolled me over yelling my name. As I rolled over I just looked at him and said "Fuuak." I honestly was shaken up for only like a minute. And wanted to resume the range so I could shoot the big stuff. But since we had an accident our range was shut down and we never got to go back the rest of deployment. In my first term of college, I figured midterms would be in the middle of the term. Checked the syllabus week 4, 10-week term, for when the midterm was. There were 2. One was the week before. I will never understand the massive amount of people that just don't go to class. You paid a lot of money for those classes. Don't get me wrong, I missed my fair share, but I almost never plan to miss one for no reason. I was in a car mishap when I was younger where my mum lost control of the car on a wet road and we ended up sideways facing oncoming traffic. Luckily we had slid far enough across the road for the cars to swerve and miss us, but for a few seconds I thought I was super dead. After I finished having sex with my girlfriend and looked down at a broken condom. I still love my son though. When I lost my virginity. Best 30 seconds of my life. Set 5 alarms on my phone so I can wake up, get ready, and get to the airport on time for my flight to see my parents on the other side of the world. I wake up to a phone call from my parents asking if I got to the airport okay. And I look at the time and well, I somehow slept through all 5 alarms. I spent a few years skydiving every weekend. On Jump 17, I'm solo at this point but don't yet have my license. Things were going well. Canopy deployed. Started thinking about landing pattern. Look down. Check windsock, make choices. Once I'm committed I notice people landing in the opposite direction than I am going. You land into the wind to slow your forward speed, and I'm wondering why they are all doing it wrong. And then I realize. Shit. This was the I am ducked moment. 17 jumps is roughly equivalent to your second week learning to drive. You can make things go where you want but you have no experiences. Someone's explained how to handle things. But you don't have a clue. So, with the wind at my back I look down and realize I am moving very fast. A little more than running speed fast. There is no way I can run this out, and even if I try rolling on the landing there's going to be a lot of momentum. I am going to wipe out. Shit. Second I am ducked moment. I look at the landing area and see a sandpit. Say a short non-denominational prayer and head for it at speed. Performing my first awesome swoop. And drill myself into the sand. Nothing broken. Bruised a little. And that's when the safety officer started shouting at me. Shit. I was ducked. I didn't get grounded but was reamed out loudly and publicly. And again later at the club meeting. It was a cold night. I was driving down a highway on a 20-mile stretch between my origin and my destination. I had the window cracked as I was smoking and was ashing out the tiny crack in the window. As I finished my cigarette, I went to flick my cigarette out the window when it bumped against it and instead fell into my door jamb, which happened to be semi-full with papers. It immediately caught fire. I rolled the window down and started throwing flaming pieces of paper out the window. Mind you, this was a completely empty highway at about 4 AM. I was watching the road ahead of me to make sure no cars were coming as I scrambled to throw the flaming pieces of scrap out my window. As you can guess by now, the cherries came on and I was pulled over. I had drank that night. And just knew I was going to blow over the limit. Definitely my worst well I'm ducked moment. But, because of that moment, I am where I am today and I stopped driving after imbibing even a little and things are pretty good all around. 0/10 though would not recommend.